Unmuted. Should be 6 very shortly.
There he is, the live video.
All right, call a special common council meeting in order at 6 p.m. Take the roll.
Alderperson Baker.
Here.
Alderperson Smith.
Here.
Alderperson Winter. Here. Alderperson Buskey.
Here.
Alderperson Olson. Here. Alderperson Henkel is excused. We have a quorum.
All right, please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any citizen comments tonight? All right. Seeing none. Item 4, presentation from Keller regarding drawings and design services for the new EMS building. I think that's you.
That is me.
All
I'm
right.
Devin Flanagan with Keller.
All right, you want to go up to the podium and
Sure.
do your presentation? You got some slideshow for us? Or?
Well, so I can present a lot of information. I know councils are very disappointed when they're sweeping through the point, but I don't know if we wanted to go through the plans. I got my laptop there. We can connect, if we want to go through the plans and where we're at in the process. We can do the plans, we can talk about timeline, we can talk about, obviously the contract, but I wanted to make sure that we're covering the things that we really want to dig into tonight. Any preference?
We're at your leisure. Go ahead.
All right. Is it possible to plug in to kind of go through those plans?
Yes, I don't think it will affect our YouTube.
We're gonna turn that on. Projector.
Still here?
Yes, sir.
I think while Donna's getting ready, we can kind of maybe prep this up a little bit. So over the last couple of months, Julia's been working with Devin, with the $800,000 award of funding from the state, and then seeking an additional $4 million from direct congressional spending. One of the things that was identified is we had a preliminary concept done for the building, but that's drawings that cannot be taken up to bid for actual construction of the building. So what we're looking at today through this conversation is there's 2 different services in the agreements that are in front of you. The first and foremost being design and architecture of the building itself. And then there's also another component of it of construction management services. So in open session, this is our time when we should be asking Kevin questions about Devin, about what's included in the contract, what his firm's experience is, any references, questions, and then the questions that should be or could be considered in closed session are actual contractual terms. So that's your kind of term. That's typically going to be your opportunity to talk without the vendor, to talk about how to approach the negotiation stage. After that, you can come out of closed session with no action or action with direction. The direction would be in a perfect situation here, should you want to move forward, that the city clerk would have things to work with Keller on as far as the legal language or changes that we want recommended prior to actual execution of the agreement. So with that being said, are you all set?
Let's do it. So where we're at in the process is like you had mentioned, we've been working on this for a while, and what we have right now are just conceptual drawings. So these are not biddable documents. They don't have mechanical, electrical, plumbing. What they are just preliminary plans, and really, not only this community, but a lot of communities, you're trying to get grants, you're trying to get funding, and put a ton of time and effort into the plans. And these are then kind of in a holding period until you are ready to commit. So why doesn't it make sense to just commit to the full set of plans right away? Well, if you're not sure of the funding, you don't know if the money situation, financial, it doesn't make sense to spend all those sorts of money on a set of plans that may or may not be built. So it's very common to work through these preliminary plans at first, and then once there's a level of confidence with funding, the site, everything coming together, which feels like we're at that point, then we begin the process of that. So as far as the site itself, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, so please feel free to ask questions. Obviously, we've got, is everyone familiar where this is? I should zoom up, okay. So you've got some visitor parking out front, fairly typical. In the back would be more staff, employee parking, 8,300 square feet. You've got the trail kind of going through here. As far as what happens with that trail exactly, there was some discussions, but I don't know that anything has been locked down yet. One of the other things that you'll probably hear me say a couple times, we don't have definite answers on everything because we haven't had the engineers evaluate all these items and pieces. So just trying to think of anything on this plan.
Yeah, we're gonna move the building, by the way. The building's gonna be more towards the north, so we can get a fire department in there at some point as well.
That's easy. We'll move it. And utilities coming around. So given that comment, we really want to make sure that we've got any future additions, anything down the road to make sure that, I just did a utility project and we were projecting 100 years from now. Well, I don't know what 100 years is going to look like, but at least we can try to make it a little easier on, the future council and whoever it may be, as far as some planning aspect of this. From the site, you don't have a lot going on. It's fairly simple and straightforward. So when we go to the inside,
So Gavin, just wanted to point out, so the months of August on the timeline through September is really going to be both the council and the community, kind of that opportunity to refine what that final concept looks like, getting stakeholder feedback. That's when evaluating utility extensions, cost benefit analysis are done. But you typically don't build a public building without getting some public feedback or input. So not only as a council will be making some decisions, there's likely going to be opportunity to maybe have a public information meeting on the actual building to provide some, what does the community expect of this facility?
Yeah, that's a great point. So, and again, it's the chicken and the egg. You go to the community too early. I've had this happen before where they go, this isn't enough detail. Give us something that we can, understand. At this point, we have something that we can really understand. So starting from the right side, we've got double-sided bays. So this is, I do a lot of public safety, and this is fairly common. Just kind of call them double stack. So you can exit out of every one of these if you need. Ideally, being EMS service, it would be nice to double stack rigs so you can just constantly be rolling through the same one, depending on operations. In the middle, it's a little hard to read. So you've got mechanical, you've got decon, you've got report writing, you've got supply storage, you've got a little work counter, and then you've got your bottles here with your exterior door. So what this strip ends up being is kind of intermediate. So there's cold, warm, and hot zones as far as when it comes to public safety. No different with EMS, where you've got transition of carcinogens and any other items, diseases, blood, whatever. So obviously on this side where the rig is, it's going to be the dirtiest, and then you transition, and now you get into the actual building portion. You have a shared office space, so this design really it goes away from individual offices. So a lot of times people have individual offices, but with budgets and trying to squeeze as much as you can out of a building, you can put multiple offices in a single room, and then the center table becomes a conference room. So you go away from individual offices and a conference room, and you put everything together. So this space probably reduces the overall square footage in half. There are some trade-offs, but again, it's a huge savings. You've got a restroom here as far as unisex. Then you've got a shower, restroom, shower, restroom, shower, restroom. So you got a block of 3 here. The reason a toilet is in a shower room is the cost perspective. With ADA requirements, when you have a shower room, you already have all the space. All you're doing is adding a toilet. I know it is cost, but it's a lot easier to have all of these rather than another set of bathrooms somewhere else. So now you've got individual future bunk rooms along with over there, and you've got this day room kitchen area for the full-timers, and then down here you have a training facility. So I think, yeah, in the back we've got a little patio way over there. Little concrete patio with a picnic table on it. Believe that was the AC on the outside. We've got some storage over here. On top of here, we do have a mezzanine. Any questions on the floor plan itself?
We touched maybe as you're on the inside, kind of some value engineering that's done when it comes to comparing material. Will the council be able to, through the stage, help determine kind of the quality of materials going in?
Yeah, so when it comes to buildings, they can be I think everyone knows, they can be as expensive as you want. With public safety buildings themselves, there is an importance factor. So when it comes to police, EMS, fire, your building, there's 5 different importance factors. So I'm not the architect here, but there's 5 different importance factors. Most buildings will fall under 3. I think it's 2 or 3. And then public safety is 1 above. So yeah, I think it's 3. And this will be a 4. Hospitals and schools are a 5. So it's 1 level below that, but most buildings are 3. So you have structural requirements for this, which in itself tends to push away from stick frame. However, when you do have a short span like this, I believe it's 60 or 65, which is kind of a sweet spot, you can go with a stick-built building. You can go with pre-engineered. You can go with masonry precast. However, those are not options that were discussed initially, not to say that you couldn't do it. A pre-engineered metal building, when you go into your industrial park or anywhere else, you'll see these very practical looking buildings. That's more or less what this is. They are the reason you see a lot of those buildings in industrial parks. They are extremely cost effective. They're low maintenance. They'll last a long time. They're not a lot of headaches. Not to say other buildings are, but the fancier you get, it's like a vehicle. The more problems you're gonna have down the road. So this is very practical. I don't see a lot of bells and whistles on here. I mean, even with this office space, I mean, if you start chunking in individual offices, this thing really grows. A question that we had, is it big enough? Well, obviously what they have right now is extremely undersized. From a longevity perspective, most municipalities want very low maintenance. They want local vendors to work on their equipment. I understand there's depending on where I am in the state, there's a craving to want everything LEED certified and the top of the line. I tend to be somewhere in between. It's great to have, the best of everything, but we want someone local who can understand the HVAC, understand these things, fix them, and be realistic. And I think that's, this building size really lends itself to that. I'm trying to think of anything else. There's things that are, like with these trench drains, it is a little more expensive. However, I tend to recommend that from a workman's comp perspective. just having more drains, to have all of the slush, especially in the winter, going directly under the vehicle. You know, sometimes you'll see the drain this way, which means people are walking through all of that slush in the middle of winter. I don't know if I'm missing anything else.
Does the pre-engineered building lend itself to expansion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So one of the factors is you'll have a expandable end wall is what they call it. And as long as that is there, you can just keep on going, keep on building. That's a good question.
Is there, I'm sorry, is there a bathroom for like off the training area, the big conference room there?
Here or here? The second one.
On the lower level.
So everyone that would be coming, so you probably end up with a lot of visitors from other departments, especially when they're speakers. I don't know how often you have them now, but a lot of times when you have a training room large enough, the speakers from different educational, again, the EMS association, they will come, but they have to have something large enough. These folks would be walking through the day room and utilizing these 3 restrooms, which it's a little bit of an inconvenience. However, the conversations that we had was they wanted as minimal as possible. So per code, this works. It's not perfect, but it saves a lot of money. I mean, otherwise you get another set of men's and women's restroom there.
Anybody else?
I had another question about, well, it doesn't pertain to this, it pertains to the site. When the mayor talked about moving the building to the north for, is it fire access to the building, or is it, what did he mean to say you can combine this with fire department? I thought our grant didn't allow a combined fire department and EMS building
We're not gonna combine them, they're have separate buildings.
separately.
Is the comment just space utilization?
Yes. Our utilities have to come off on the top corner,
Yeah, they come up here, right?
going the other way.
Up here?
Yeah,
Okay.
we already have sewer, but we need to put the water.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, nothing is set in stone, right? Like you had mentioned earlier. So it's fine tuning everything now that we are far enough along where, let's get really serious about this and really start moving those pieces as needed.
One other question, there was some talk of a helipad somewhere, a helicopter.
No, we were just talking about having a big enough parking lot that if we do need to land a helicopter, we would be able to, which.
Are you gonna be able to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for Julie. Didn't you say at one point you needed a private office that was locked for
It will
security?
be, our security system is gonna be set for key fobs, and they'll be designated per area, so like wherever we hold anything that's HIPAA would be under one set of key fob. Anything going to the training center would be a different type of key fob, so not everybody would have access to those specific places.
Because of, you have the group office that was like.
Yeah, it would just be myself and Devin in that office, and then we would have another full-time office, which in the plans shows like the storage room for tables. We've decided that we don't need that would be turned into another office that would be shared.
Okay, thank you.
And you mentioned the path, were you indicating that you needed more, like a survey to establish the actual physical path itself?
Well,
I think we checked that already, did we not? On our,
I don't know if you have a good description, legal description.
are you talking about the gravel?
Yeah.
The gold
Yeah,
star or the
gold star.
gravel?
I think what I was
Gold
taking
Star
reference to was that walking trail.
Oh,
So I think, like a building permit, like anything, you gotta go through and verify and make sure that it works and we're complying with, I'm not sure whose trail it is and what boxes we gotta check, but we gotta go through the process and, I can make assumptions I don't necessarily always like to. We wanna make sure everyone's.
And I believe our engineer's already started to look into
Okay.
it.
What trail is that?
And that's the part of the Gold Star.
Oh, it is, okay.
Can you comment on, especially the initial design phase, on a weekly basis, how much you anticipate needing staff or council input as it comes to finalizing some of the areas?
As far as the next steps?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a good question. What our next steps look like from a kind of a chunking, we're in August and September and really hitting the ground running after, I would say, September. So September, October, November, that is a ton of our internal time spent developing these plans. So these are, you see one floor plan, but you'll end up with probably 50 to 70 actual plan pages showing all the MEPs and everything that's associated with this building. However, between that process, there are aesthetics, there's layouts, there's things that we want to make sure everyone's on board with. So a big part of my role is helping communicate with our interior design, our architects, engineers, all of that. And it really depends on the expectations, right? So if you want to have community engagement, get some input on what is going on. With public safety, there is a unique balance. So we've done quite a few libraries. Library is a great example of something that can be completely community designed. It's kind of the same thing with a school to some degree. There can be a lot of input. When it comes to public safety, whether it's a police station, EMS, fire station, some of these internal workings, we really can't change them because, it's needed of the staff. This is something that's needed. But as far as the layout, where things are, how things flow, the look of the building, that would be something that would come back. Now, some cities want to be involved with every single color and little detail and everything, and that's perfect. Some councils are saying, you know what, this is good enough. You pick the colors as long as it's not the fancy one. It costs more, just do the thing. So we can go anywhere in between there. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, I think, just knowing that commitment, if the council wants to be the driver of that, if council wants to dictate a staff member, part of that decision through this process is realizing there's going to be a lot of micro decisions, especially in the front end.
Yeah, it's a balance. So the color of the building, pretty important thing. Which filing cabinet locks in that office, not a big thing. So it's a unique balance of working with one another to make sure that the expectations are clear on the front end. We bring up all of those questions, and then whoever the staff may be, we continue moving on with those other items. Let's see what it looks like on the outside. There we go. So, bear with me in explaining this. Right now, it is designed as a stick frame building. And the reason I bring up pre-engineered is because to me, it's part of this is about timing, part of it about function, and about flexibility from the council themselves. Jumping back into COVID, when things were just out of control and crazy, there was opportunities for us to pivot to a different type of product, which would save a lot of money. It's not the end of the world. If we catch it early on, it's easy enough. So while this is stick frame, it's very easily done in pre-engineered. Both are fairly cost effective. The pre-engineered is it's a simple, straightforward. We've got masonry wainscoting, so no structural masonry per se. There's a little bit on the inside, but from the outside, it is a very unique color.
I think it's just too dark from what we were talking about. We were concerned about fading after, we did talk to Devin about that. That it could fade after what, maybe 10 years, maybe more. Hard to say.
Well, so the professional opinion, you'll get a warranty of X amount of years from a vendor. My personal gut, I'd be a little nervous with a black building like this. I mean, they can all say it's gonna last 20 years, but I'm a little nervous because it's gonna heat up so much every summer, and I find that a little unbelievable.
We were thinking to go much lighter than
How much to add square footage to the office then?
As far as cost?
Yeah.
I think it depends on what, because if you're just adding empty square footage, it's not, I don't wanna say it's not bad, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, the cost of this building, it's like a garage or a house when you're building it. The mobilization, the plans, you know, you're already doing everything, so if you want to add another foot, it does cost you, but you already paid for everything else. So I mean, you know, this part of your building is the most cost effective, right? It's just concrete, empty building. This is a little more expensive, it's kind of medium, and then this is obviously the most expensive. You know, your bathrooms cost per square foot are astronomically higher than anywhere else because you have all the fixtures, the heating, all of that stuff. So to add more square footage, depends on what, but,
I got a question. I got some background on this, but typically when you do your toilets, like if there's a men and women's bathroom, typically all the plumbing's on the same wall. So if you have the women's toilet over here, the toilet's on this side of the wall, and the men's toilet's over here, it's on this side of the wall, because you have all the plumbing down the center. And it looks like the plumbing there is all wrapped around that, all the wall.
yeah, it's a very good point. So we've got a kitchen here running right through. My assumption is depending on where things would go on the outside, obviously, so we'll have a straight line of the underground with all these, which would likely tie into this area, which, no, we're coming this way, right? Up the road. So then you have all of your restrooms here. So over there, you really got nothing. So I mean, you bring up a great point.
Because you got 4 separate toilets there?
Yep, 2, 3, 4. You got the sink here, and then lines up pretty well with the center where all the structurings are going. Well, everyone's thinking about questions, so what do the next steps look like? So at this point, if the city's, you know, ready to move forward, putting together plans to actually go out to bid. So, and again, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. You don't want to, I don't, if you're not comfortable with the project, if you're not ready, I would say hold on the plans. Planning is very expensive. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. So you don't really want to do it unless we're moving forward. Now, obviously, it sounds like we're moving forward. So that's the planning process. And, you know, from here until I would say November, December, getting everything wrapped up, bidding, no different than roads. You want to bid it over the winter. I would say as long as we're getting it out to bid, you know, by February, try to get it March the latest, but at this point, it's looking really favorable. So, you know, that December, January timeframe, get everything approved. Excuse me, and then hit ground in the spring in order to build. So obviously the architecture is very simple and straightforward. Put the plans together, do the documentation, and then that leads into construction, which is that second document, construction management. So as far as the procurement process, you can go architect, bid, build. Architect draws the plans, you bid it out to generals, and you get a couple of generals who bid on the project. Which is one procurement process. Or you can do construction management. Architect draws the plans, a construction manager manages the project and will publicly bid out every division of work. So rather than going to just generals, you break the project down into excavation, plumbing, HVAC, all of these little items. So one thing I always like to bring up is, you know, let's say you have the low bid general, he may not have the low bid for every division. You know, every contractor, they have their own favorites and people that they work with. So here you get to break everything down, get a lot more local interest on the project. Something like this, I think it lends itself well. I mean, you got a lot of residential builders who could likely build this. Obviously, there's pre-qualification process. We don't want just anyone, but qualified subs are gonna. I mean, this is a really, really big, nice house. So you're gonna get a mixture of both. So when you break the project into construction management, someone has to manage it, the subs. Someone has to provide the job trailer. Someone has to do the porta potty. Someone has to do all these things that a general would typically do. So then that is something that we would take on as a construction manager. We take on that scope of work, and then all of the subcontractors we would then manage and continue the process.
Typically, we use a general contractor.
What's that?
Typically, we use a general contractor.
Okay.
That's how we did library too.
So that is a different process. I like it. You know, I think we get a lot of favorable local subs. It's definitely different. You know, and one of the big reasons why these AIA documents that I provided, so there's a lot more simple contracts that we have. However, City of Viroqua, they had a fire station, they had congressional spending that was earmarked, and we went through the whole process, similar to where we're at now. So we went through the whole process. These are actually the documents that we were required to use. So Senator Baldwin's office provided the funds, USDA oversaw and managed those funds in the distribution, and then we had to comply with all the requirements. So I mean, I think if I were you, I would want to use those same documents. It's a lot of legal and to go through, but I mean, if you can get the extra money, it's a huge win on the city's part.
All right, anybody else? All right, well, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Item 5, closed session pursuant Wisconsin statute 19.85(1)E. Deliberation, negotiate the purchase of public property, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business for whatever or bargaining reasons require closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Smith,
I'll second.
second by Winter. Any discussion? We're going into closed session to talk about the proposed contract from Keller for drawings and design services for the new EMS building. Take the roll.
Alderperson Smith. Alderperson Winter. Here. Alderperson Buskey. Alderperson Olson. Aye. Alderperson Baker. We will be going into closed session at 6:31. I just need to take down YouTube.
Do you want me here or should
All right, can you step out for the first part?
I? Yeah, that's fine.